refuse to believe that it's ever too late to be brand new. When I was 9 years old, I found my buoy. I'm hoping that you find yours. Thank you. Next up is Vanessa Ballas. So this was a piece inspired by my 319 class right over there, a story I never told before. So this is called Tutus and Tiaras. This is one story I've never told before, not to anyone. I, Vanessa Ballas, queen of the klutzes, was almost a prima ballerina. Yes, when I say prima ballerina, I mean the tutu-wearing, ballet-breathing bunheads of ballerinas that you see dancing at the Joffrey or Juilliard. It was 12 years ago, but I remember it as if it was yesterday. It was a sunny spring day when I walked into my first ballet class, kindergarten ballerinas, at the Palatine Park District. I can still feel the smile stretched across my face and my new ballet bag slapping against my thigh as I bolted up the linoleum steps to reach the hollowed dance hall, where several other little girls were waiting eagerly with their moms, impatient to slip into the room of mirrors and transform into beautiful princesses, while gliding across the floor as we jumped and leapt gracefully. Although the thought of wearing a tutu was enough to make my 5-year-old brain burst from excitement, it wasn't just the tutus and tiaras that motivated me to beg my mom to sign me up for a dance class. There was something else fueling my longing for the art of ballet. More specifically, a person. As I watched a production of The Nutcracker in 2006 with my mom and dad, I was in awe throughout the entire production. I became so enamored with the ballet that by the end of the production, I had dropped an entire container of Garrett's Chicago-style popcorn all over myself. The set was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen, full of brilliant colors and graphics with hints of sparkle everywhere I looked. As I began to take in the scenery, the lights dimmed and the dancing began. Like many other girls, I was captivated by the beauty of Clara and the other ballerinas in The Nutcracker. With their hair in tight buns and their feet encased in beautiful silk ballet shoes with pale ribbon entwined up the tiny dancers' calves, the ensemble members radiated grace as they jumped and spun across the floor. From that point on, I was hooked. This leads us back to where we started. 5-year-old me drumming my fingers on the hard plastic chairs lined up outside the class as I waited to be let in. Finally, after what seemed like hours, I heard the door click and looked up to find a sweet old lady opening the door and ushering all the girls into the room. As I passed by my teacher, I noticed that on her wrist glistened a Nutcracker charm bracelet. I knew then that we would get along perfectly. As we set down our bags, the other girls and I changed into our shoes and followed our instructor to the bar to begin our class for the day. Although the class was an hour long, it felt like 5 minutes. I learned all about ballet basics and even practiced some of the jumps and turns I'd seen the magical ballerinas do when performing on stage. Right before we had to go back to our parents, my instructor called all the girls to the center of the room. She informed us that at the end of our class session in 6 weeks, we would have a recital for our families, performing a routine to a song from none other than the Nutcracker. When I received that joyous news, I thought that I would fly through the roof. Me, a dancer in the Nutcracker? Although it wasn't a professional production like the one I had seen, it was good enough for 5-year-old me. I spent the next 6 weeks sleeping around in the dance room and my house, practicing my routine for my parents' little brother and my favorite stuffed animal, a sparkly pink elephant named Ellie, until the day finally came. Before I knew it, the day of the recital had come. As I woke up, I shot out of bed and gleefully woke up my parents, oblivious to the fact that it was 5:30 in the morning. Since this was a special day, my parents raised themselves out of bed and headed to the coffee machine as if they were zombies, eager for brains, while I munched on a strawberry Pop-Tart. After a sufficient amount of caffeine was in their bodies, we began our preparation for the big day. As I donned a lavender and pale pink leotard and tutu, and my dad retrieved the video camera, my mother entered my room with a crinkly paper bag in her hand and a radiant smile on her face. Although one was not required for our performance, my mother had gone to the store when I was at school and bought me my own sparkly tiara. After I looked at myself in the mirror, both parents kissed me on the cheek and whisked me into the car so we could drive to the Palatine Park District. All of a sudden, as we pulled up to the building, my excitement changed to anxiety. My stomach was suddenly swarming with butterflies. Pushing my nerves aside, I channeled my inner Clara and marched up the stairs, ready to enjoy my moment. But once I reached the room and swung open the door, my anxiety gave way to a more powerful force: nausea. No sooner had I stepped foot into the fluorescent-lit room than my stomach decided that a pink frosted Pop-Tart was not a suitable breakfast for a prima ballerina to be, and forced it upwards, inducing me to vomit all over the floor and the costume I was wearing. As I dry heaved, my world collapsed. I realized that going on stage after this was not an option. Although I begged my parents to stay, my nasty stomach virus forced me to go home without having performed my routine. My tutu days were over.
Some of them I wrote on my own time, and some of them were for class. The first one is called 5 Ways to Win My Heart. 1. When the ocean is thrashing against your boat, threatening to throw your world upside down, dragging you under, filling your lungs with anxiety and pressure and self-doubt, making it impossible to breathe, let me in. 2. When I'm spitting knives and throwing daggers, I'm a hunter and you're my prey. Refusing to be rational, building a wall between us higher and higher, every word another brick, ignorant and unreasonable. Ask me about my day. 3. When I'm all smiles and giggles, hanging on to your every word, kissing you senseless just because you look really good in dark gray, wearing my heart on my sleeve, my laughter pulling you in, loud and warm, be present in the moment. 4. As the months go by and my steps align with yours, we speak the same language, share the same heart. You know every corner of my soul, every move before I make it, refuse to be predictable. 5. When the world wears us down and I don't laugh at your jokes, loving becomes a chore and I do the dishes first. I seem to have lost sight of how we even began, forever and always. Don't let me forget. Thank you. This next one is called Sickness, and it's just kind of based off of the idea of like the glamorization of suicide and depression, especially on like Tumblr and other social media sites. It's not always the pale, beautiful girl on the bathroom floor, an orange bottle in both hands whose bony legs appear to be shaking. It's rarely the boy with the perfectly messy hair, empty bloodshot eyes, and love bites up and down his neck. Sometimes it's the girl with the perfect parents and infectious smile who has slowly grown quieter. Other times it's the boy, earbuds always in, volume all the way up. He needs those words to keep him from thinking, to keep him from feeling. It's the scars that no amount of foundation, cream, or clothing can hide, fade, or fix. There is nothing beautiful about pain. There is nothing poetic about loneliness. Depression is a sickness, not a love song. Thank you. The next one is called Confessions of an Art Student, and it was written based off of the prompt. I had to include the word pencil in my writing. I am terrified of the mute, of quiet lips and still tongues, not to be mistaken with the docile, the submissive. I am speaking of the boys and the girls with pens and paintbrushes where their mouths should be, thoughts and opinions swallowed with ease, minds crowded with unspoken words more dangerous than a cigarette thrown to the ground, embers still glowing, words with enough fuel to burn down a forest, send a town up in flames. I verbalize while they internalize. Their pencil is moving, why aren't their lips? Thank you. And this last one is called This Time Last Year, and it was just written kind of based off of the idea of how quickly things can change. This time last year, I was caught up on your name, in your smile. This time last year, I was oblivious to the hurricane of your laughter, unknowingly drowning in your love until the winds picked up and I was thrown around, quickly and unexpectedly torn to pieces. Unaware the tornado warning had turned into a tornado watch, I glanced the other way. I seemed to have forgotten even the sturdiest houses can be brought down in the deadliest conditions. No wonder storms are named after people. This time last year, your arms were my safe haven, your touch white hot on my skin. This year the storm has slowed to a calm drizzle, and I sit quietly in the rain, hoping to drown in something other than your memory. Thank you. Next up is Christina Miller.
Okay, so this was a college essay that I wrote, but I fixed it, so. Pink walls, clothes strewn across the floor, and a sleeping dog on my recently cleaned chair. I walk into my room and take in my surroundings. The room that lies before me is definitely not my ideal work environment. However, with my mom vacuuming and my little sister watching TV, my house currently presents no better options. I drag my backpack across the floor and pull out today's homework. Judging by the size of the piles of papers on my desk, this will probably take me several hours to complete. I begin working on my homework in hopes of earning some kind of free time before going to bed. Suddenly, my dog jumps up and starts barking at nothing. Her shrill bark diverts my attention from my homework, and I notice the messy room for a second time. I shake my head to clear it, but I can no longer concentrate on the task of my homework. I attempt to clean my room, but I feel overwhelmed. Instead, I reach under my bed and grab a thin red notebook. I blow the dust off the cover and open it to a blank page. It's been a while since I opened it, but when I feel beat up by life, this is my favorite place to go. As I open the notebook to a blank page, my eyes focus on the page in front of me, and I forget about the clutters around me. This little red notebook is my home within my room, a sort of sanctuary. It contains many events from my life, and while these events may not be life-altering, every one of them is important to me. I turn to the first page. The first day of first grade. 6-year-old me glances excitedly around the playground. So many potential friends in sight. I head over to the nearest group of girls and ask to join in their games. Ew, one of them pipes up. You just funny. I glance down at the dress that my harmony made me, and you smell weird. I thought back on the seaweed lunch that I ate. Fine. If I couldn't fit in with these girls, then I will fit in with the Korean girls. I head over to where they are jumping rope, but I was quickly deterred when I heard a foreign language. Dejected, I sat on the curb with my notebook and turned the page. Darkness enveloped me. I could sense that my stand partner was warming up, but I could only stare into the seemingly endless sea of onlookers. Suddenly, the lights turn on, blinding me. At my conductor's signal, we stand in unison as the audience applauds. My heart swells with happiness as the crowd cheers for us, and the orchestra sits down, and a lone figure walks onto the stage. My jaw drops as I see world-class violinist Midori Goto. My once-in-a-lifetime opportunity had come at the age of 12, enamoring me with the world of orchestra. I gaze fondly at my violin as I turn the page. This page fills me with anger, resentment, and betrayal. I remember sitting on my couch and squeezing my pillow as I curl underneath my blanket. We had been planning that day for weeks, and yet when he asked her to homecoming, she immediately said yes, as if he was more important than me. My eyes focused on the gentle glow of the TV, wondering if the movie's protagonist had ever felt that way. I turn the page to forget the event. Water fills my lungs. My nose stings with the scent of chlorine, my identifying mark, my perfume. My hands slam into the wall and instinct takes over. I perform the flip turn that I had practiced a million times before and head into the back half of my race. I force my arms to turn over in an inhuman pace. 15 yards left. 12. 10. I catch a glimpse of Sammy's red cap out of the corner of my vision. My brain tells me to go. My legs are telling me no. I toy with the idea of slowing down slightly, maybe even letting Sammy catch up. After all, I know the intolerable amount of pain that I would experience after the adrenaline faded away. And then again, my teammates are counting on me. I can hear their screams from underwater, quite an impressive feat. Re-energized by the cheers of my team, I force myself forward. 5 yards. Ouch. 4 yards. I hit the metaphorical wall. 3 yards. I can sense Sammy closing the gap between us. 2 yards. Just a few more strokes. 1 yard. My hands graze the touchpad and I pull myself into the wall. I slam my hand into the touchpad a second time to make certain that my time had registered. To my left, Sammy had finished. Arms shaking, I pull myself out of the pool and I lie on the deck, dismissing any thoughts of fungal disease. I stare at the scoreboard and a huge grin takes over my face. Christina Miller, first place. All the languages in the world could not describe my pride. Satisfied, I close my notebook and drag my mind back into reality. This little notebook carries my emotions, regrets, accomplishment, and hope all in a portable 8x11 package. It contains the journey of my life and the stories of many other people and creatures along the way. Revisiting experiences in my notebook gives me a sense of comfort and hope. It helps me search myself, warts and all. As I open up the notebook to a new page and begin pouring out my thoughts, the dog barks. My mom peeks through the window and asks, "How are you doing? Need another room to finish your work?" I look up and smile. "No thanks, I'm exactly where I want to be." And next we have Alice Song.
Hi, I'm Alice, and I'm going to be reading my Common App essay, so go college. Right. Every day I wake up to the sound of roosters and the bell on the milkman's cart jingling along the bumpy dirt road. It's only 6 in the morning and the sun has just risen, yet people are already bustling around, preoccupied with their daily routines. Street stand owners strategically place bowls of dojang near the edges of their tables so that the sweet soy milk aroma will permeate the brisk air and entice passersby. As one of them gets closer, he's pleasantly surprised by the golden gleam of youtiao, strips of fried dough that greedily soak up dojang when dipped into it. The other side of the street boasts dojang's competition, rice porridge that's creamier than any of Panera's specialty soups, even the baked potato soup. Scattered throughout these breakfast stands are tables of fresh fruits and vegetables that will become home-cooked meals later in the day. Most days, the laughing of my aunts, uncles, and cousins, accompanied by the clanging of pots and pans, signals the preparation for dinner. One of my aunts always brings the meat. Sometimes it's live catfish, or spiced lamb, or braised beef. Once it rained so hard that the battered trees deposited sparrows all over the streets, and I had the opportunity to experience sparrow soup for the very first time, and it was weird. Another aunt brings fresh vegetables, a hard decision between whether the mild flavor from chives or the tart flavor from radishes complements rice noodles better. The answer is neither. The effusive chattering, paired with animated gestures, does the night's beef noodle stew more justice than umami ever could. Some days I help my aunts out with their undergarment store at the supermarket shopping mall. Though it's only a 5-minute commute on an electric bike, we must weave in and out of the fray the way a fish streamlines with the current. If we hesitate, we will never be able to cross the streets heavily knotted with traffic at all hours of the day. In the mall, I can't help but notice its differences. Family-owned stores the size of bedrooms, makeshift shop counters lined up the length of the mall, partly dilapidated areas constantly under construction, and a connected supermarket filled with red bean sesame balls and passion fruit candies packaged in glistening wrappers that literally define Rihanna's lyric, "Shine bright like a diamond." But most importantly is the bargaining that takes place. It's succinct, but not to the point of being curt, seemingly rehearsed but entirely impromptu, a form of art in itself and a testament to the value of every hard-earned yuan. Whether it's a drive to the mountain peak for a taste of crisp gurgling stream water, or a short walk to sowed fields which teem with these cute little tadpoles, this town pulls off unpredictable better than the Hatter himself. Yet there is a Cheshire cat in its buzzing streets. The milkman's bell will always pass by my aunt's house in the early hours of the day, just as the streets will always be home to stray dogs. And since I don't have to be asleep to be here, Wonderland will never be able to compare. Next up is Amy Reedy.
Alright, hi guys, I'm Amy, and I'm going to be talking about two people who changed my life a long time ago. Girls, would you like some ice cream? My older sister and I glance up from our game of pig and see our next door neighbor leaning out his door with his wife against his shoulder. We've used their basketball hoop for years, but I've never been invited inside Papa Jack and Chandra's house before. I look to my sister, and she confidently announces, "We'd love some," and bounds up their front entrance. I follow, watchful of the screen door, sliding quickly out of the way as the older couple makes their slow way to the kitchen. Papa Jack, whom I've called Papa ever since I can remember, waves me into a small wooden chair. He asks about our game, school, and friends as Chandra putters about the kitchen. Megan bubbles over with talk, respectful but exuberant, while I answer what I'm asked, shyly, mostly admiring him and his wife weaving about the cozy room. Chandra is a quiet woman who, with Papa Jack, lets all the neighborhood kids use their property for games of tag and hide and seek. I'm young enough to not ask questions when I'm told to treat these two kindly, yet old enough to also notice the way Chandra always smiles with her mouth, but not with her eyes. But as she sets the bowls down, Chandra rests her soft hand upon my arm. I look up, and for the first time, I see her smile reach all the way up to her eyes. They're warm and happy, and she gives me a squeeze before slipping back over to her husband again. All I could do was beam back before devouring my treat, delighted in my new friendship and dessert. I know now that my former neighbors had lost their 2 children in terrible accidents long ago, and because most of their family lived all the way in India, these 2 wonderful people were alone in their daily lives. I spent whole summers of my childhood running through their backyard, peeking through their huge brown fence to hold secret conversations with my siblings, and getting the occasional treat from their kitchen, clueless of why I was so welcomed in their yard. This couple was another set of grandparents for me, and for them, my siblings and I were a chance to have children in their lives again. If my parents had not seen how kind and full of love Papa Jack and Chandra were, and if they hadn't told me and my siblings to treat them as family, this moment never would have happened. Actually, most of my childhood memories wouldn't have happened. This act of kindness by my parents and this willingness to share love that Papa Jack and Chandra had was so simple to a 7-year-old. To call a man Papa wasn't a hardship to me. Yet this small action, combined with many others, changed all of our lives and created moments like the ones Chandra and I shared. That day, I was experiencing a unique love that stemmed from one single moment so seemingly inconsequential that I knew from then on that any act of compassion, even one that seemed simple in the life of a 7-year-old, could result in something more beautiful than anyone could guess. I love you, Papa Jack. I love you, Chandra. And thank you, Mom and Dad, for giving me these memories. Up next is Corey Green.
Okay, here we go. So, I'm Corey, as you probably just heard. I'm just your average senior guy at first glance. Good grades, a horrible procrastination habit, and a terrible sleeping pattern. I may be a little short, but beyond this, I don't particularly stand out, especially now. Those of you who don't know me at all, or met me this year, assume me average. And I'm grateful for this. In our society, to be different is to warrant criticism. But I've realized hiding is not helping my cause. Visibility and humanizing all that I am are the only way to gain acceptance. So I'm here. I'm a kid, a person, just like you. But I'm also transgender. I was assigned female at birth. 2 years ago, I realized that I would have to make the hardest decision of my life before I was even old enough to vote. I found a term that would stop the frequent bouts of depression. It would give a meaning to an existence I had hoped to end. But I would make myself ineligible to serve our country in the military because of outdated medical standards. I would put myself into a statistical pool from which 46% of us will attempt suicide. My life expectancy would drop from 80 to 28, because I would now be over 1,500 times more likely to be murdered. I would risk being disowned and hated by the people I love the most because to them, my very existence would become taboo. I would make myself different, and that scared me. But not truly living scared me even more. The middle of junior year, I made my choice. I came out to friends and family as transgender. To this day, I do not regret my decision. Through my transition, I've become more confident and outgoing, comfortable in who I am and how others perceive me. What I once considered a curse, I can now see has made me a more compassionate and understanding man. But this came with its price. From friends, I received support, but understandably questions as well. From family, I received backlash and many, many more questions. I was bombarded with things such as, why would you do this to yourself? How do you know? And even, so are you going to get the surgery? I soon realized that as a culture we know very little of what it actually means to be transgender, and have very few, if any, transgender role models. So, how did I know I'm transgender? Well, how do you know you're the right gender? You just do. When you look in the mirror, you see the curves and lines of your body, and it seems right, not out of place or foreign. When you speak, you think nothing of the pitch at which you do. It's not important because it's how it should be. Your body and mind are in sync, and that's a good thing. That's how it is for most people. However, people that are transgender have a disconnect between their body and their mind. This disconnect creates physical, mental, and emotional turmoil. This turmoil is called dysphoria and is the basis for transition. I have dysphoria, and thus I am transgender. So you're probably wondering what dysphoria feels like. This is kind of tricky, because it's different for everyone. However, the consensus is that it's distress due to extreme discomfort with one's assigned sex. But the best way I've found to describe it is the following. Have you ever seen a really badly broken leg? No exposed bone, and it's not bleeding, but the knee is shattered and bent the wrong way. It's something that's sort of terrifying to behold because you know it is horrifyingly wrong deep down in the most instinctual parts of your brain. Now imagine that you look down at your own leg and it's broken like that. And it's seen as completely normal by everyone around you. They look at your legs and go, well, what's the problem? They see nothing wrong with them. But of course you still do. The fear, shock, and repulsion are all still there. Forget the leg and just remember that feeling of complete wrongness. Like the very laws of how your body ought to be have been violated. Imagine that feeling applied to everything about you that is male or female. Imagine seeing the male or female parts of yourself and going, oh my God, my body's not supposed to look that way. It doesn't make logical sense. It's an utter instinctual response. That's dysphoria. Next is probably the most distressing question to me. Why would you do this to yourself? As if wanting to be comfortable in my own body is some disastrous choice. Living in the closet with large amounts of dysphoria is heartbreaking at its best and lethal at its worst. Currently, almost 1 out of every 2 transgender men attempt suicide. I don't want to be a part of that statistic, so I'm transitioning. I'm doing this to save my life, and I think that's a good enough reason. Last but not least is the most annoying question. Am I going to have the surgery? All right, at least buy me a cup of coffee before you start asking about what is or will be in my pants. But in all seriousness, never ask this to a transgender individual. How would you like it if random people off the street started asking you what's below your belt? In truth, this is a very personal question that for many transgender individuals is not set in stone because of many factors such as money, current medical capabilities, and how far they wish to go in their transition. Some decide to have it and others do not, and that does not make them any less transgender. I hope that all of you will take this information with you, because the reason that being different is such a terrible thing in our society is because people fear and consequently hate and berate what they do not understand. I sincerely hope that even just one of you goes home more accepting of the transgender community than when you walked into this auditorium today. Because one day, I hope that rather than seeing transgender people being eulogized in the news, they are praised. That being different will no longer be a death sentence, but a cause for celebration. Thank you.
Great job. Give them another hand, you guys. We're going to open it up to questions, and I'm going to ask the first question. What motivates you to write? Answer and then pass it down. Or what gets you in the writing mood? Go ahead.
What gets me in the writing mood? Oh gosh. I don't know, I like reading, I like writing poetry the most. I don't really write a lot of fiction, but I just like reading other people's work, and that kind of inspires me.
Kind of like what I said, whenever I feel kind of stressed out or bored, I just like to pick up a piece of paper and just write whatever comes to my mind.
Mine was a college essay, so, I guess that motivated me. Had to write it, so I did. But I like writing.
Mine was a college essay too, so my motivation was to go to college. But I too enjoy writing.
So before this assignment, I wasn't a huge writer, I guess, but I just think the fact that I had this prompt just kind of inspired me to think outside the box.
So what actually inspired me to write this piece was the recent suicides of Leela Alcorn and Xander. So I figured something had to be done, so I wrote this.
I just kind of have a lot going on in my head, and it's nice to write it down sometimes. And I'm just obsessed with words and the way that words can go together. And yeah.
Okay. Questions from the audience? Yep. Yeah.
Megan, what's Taylor Swift's birthday?
Megan, what's Taylor Swift's birthday?
December 13th, 1989, and it was in the morning, around 8 a.m. She's a Sagittarius.
Sagittarius. Old Taylor. Any other questions? Questions? No one else? Yeah, right here. Corey.
Yeah, what's your spirit animal?
Well, here we go with the spirit animals. Corey.
Man, I don't know. My friends call me a puppy a lot, so I guess that.
Audience questions.
Yeah, up there. Loud. Is this for everyone? Wow. It's for them too. I think a lot of others are going to college too, but I guess for you too.
Yeah, you go first. Okay. Well, I applied to Columbia Early Decision, but I didn't get in because, yeah. But then I applied to NYU Early Decision too, and I'm going to New York City, so.
This one, I think it was for University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and I got in, but I'm not going there. But it was a fun prompt to write for. It was like, talk about a micro moment of love or something. Well, we have some other seniors. Megan, where are you going?
University of Wisconsin, Madison.
I got into U of I. I'm waiting on U Chicago, so we'll see.
Yeah, all my college acceptance letters haven't come in yet, so I'm still waiting on a few.
I'm going to London College of Fashion.
Question right here. Who's your favorite musician? Well, we know Megan's. Taylor, December 13th. Okay, there you go.
Sam Hunt.
I don't really have a favorite musician because I have to listen to a lot of music for orchestra and everything, so.
Jack Johnson. Imagine Dragons.
Stevie Nicks.
I don't have a really good answer for this. I guess Pink or Eminem, but I.
Yeah, I like Taylor Swift.
Yeah, Max. This is for you, right? What was the town you were describing?
It's called Pujiang, and it's like a little rural-ish town in China, and it's like super not industrialized, and it's really different from here because they still have like dirt roads and stuff. So, like, yeah. I try to go every summer, and I think I'm gonna go this summer, but it's where my dad's family is. So, yeah.
Okay, we can get a few more questions. Yeah.
Alice, what's your favorite fruit?
Alice, what's your favorite fruit? How about, that could be for everyone, right? I mean, unless you really want to ask Alice.
Just specifically Alice.
Okay. Wow, Alice, fruit.
I love bananas as much as Megan loves Taylor Swift. So, go bananas.
You obviously knew that, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. Questions? Yeah, right here. Yeah. Are any of you thinking about becoming a writer? Okay, just answer it.
Not professionally, probably, but I will always write.
Yeah, similar to that. Not professionally, but definitely for fun.
Yeah, not professionally for me either.
Probably not. You're gonna have to go with no.
Yeah, not professional.
No.
I think we could do two more, yeah.
Hey, Amy, what's on your neck?
Hey. Yeah? Oh, that, okay. That's great. Thanks, Tim.
These are warm and fuzzies. They're like compliments that you give out at Operation Snowball, which you should all do because it's so much fun. It was last
Yes, yes, you.
Can I give Amy a warm and fuzzy for having a great piece?
Yes, you can give Amy a warm and fuzzy. Wow, we got the interactive crowd right here. There you go.
Hold on, me too.
Oh, okay, wow. Okay. Okay, you guys, please give this group a hand. They did amazing. Great job.